Well, surprise, surprise, something sold on Redbubble. Incredible. Now, the irony here is that I'd made all of my listings private about 4 months ago or so, maybe even longer. And I wasn't updating daily or, all these things they tell you to do. I wasn't doing any of that. And I thought I'd made everything private, but clearly there was one item that wasn't, and it was a bag. It was a tote bag with a pattern on it that I'd done. It wasn't even very interesting, to be honest. But it was, do people, I guess, I don't know. I can't imagine why somebody's bought it. Look, it was a sort of scrolly pattern, and maybe if it was presents, I could understand, but it didn't sell in December, it sold in January. So I'm thinking, wow, that's weird. And then I realised that they'd bought two. That's incredible. But it just goes to show that you don't have to be on it every day, doing all that stuff that they tell you. It's bollocksy, that is. Utter rubbish. Because I have I've got loads of channels on YouTube that sometimes I build a channel and I completely forget about it, and 4 years later, it's something on it's going viral. One little thing, I think it was a book last time, I can't remember what it was, on my publishing account. And, you can't, this is the sort of thing that managers and marketers, or marketers, is that the word? Of internet accounts and all this, and all these people trying to sell you apps and shops, they tell you that you need to be at it every day, all the time. And it's just rubbish, in my opinion. Rubbish, because actually, if you set everything up and then you just ignore it, you don't have to do any work, something's going to move eventually, because Google will find you. Google will always find you. But the other thing is, the longer you're there, hovering in the background of the internet, the more Google understands that that's where you are and what you do. And that after 2 years, you become, Google likes you when you're 2. Doesn't like babies or newborns. Because so many sites, I guess, flyby sites, they sort of create whatever, and then they're just there for the rip-off, or they just disappear, or they're more interested in sort of clickbait, quick money, that sort of thing. But I do think as well that Google does make updates, and sometimes its updates are actually, they go against all this marketing, the hardcore clickbait marketing type stuff, which is sharing your links all the time. Look, don't get me wrong, I've set up my Twitter and I was linking, like, giving me handache. I only have to press a button, to be fair, to set things up. But then yesterday I was barely on Twitter and I got loads more followers. So, at some point you just think, well, hang on a minute, can I just do nothing all day? I probably can. Anyway, because I'm setting up this TV channel, it's going to take 2 years to create movement on that. I know it is. So there's absolutely no point in me working really hard, doing stuff every day until my 2 years is up. It seems to be 2 years. It's 6 months to get a new hashtag doing the rounds. So the Marchioness of Dorchester is just starting now. Actually, she's been around for a while, but I've only just started sort of sharing that hashtag. All my other ones, they did take about six months minimum before they start showing on Google search and what have you. So by all means you can do all that stuff. You can do all that, getting yourself out there while you're creating the little bubble that's going to be your little area of the internet. But I'm going to recommend that you just, after that point, when you've done all that and it's established, at least in search, Google search, once that's established and your business has a foundation, shall we say, a foundation of, that's solid, that when people actually Google your hashtag, your name, your @ whatever it is, your profiles, it does get to you. Once that's happened, I think this business about, slogging over it every day, on it like, well, I mean, I read my seven, what was it? 7 ways to get famous in a year. So the bullet points. One of them was be at it every day. But at what? I mean, that wasn't the language they used, but, it was basically saying work at it every day, every single day. But work is relative, isn't it? I mean, what do you need to do to work? You don't need to be over a computer 8 hours a day. You simply don't need to do that. You need to share some links around the place, perhaps do a blog entry. Now, my blog entries today were all about T-shirts because I've been spurred on by a sale. I mean, who doesn't get spurred on by a sale? Especially when it's art. You think, oh God, I'm so used to not selling my art. Very used to it being completely ignored. So imagine my glee. Anyway, I thought, right, I better make everything public again, All my T-shirts are now, there's 275 of them or something, all now available. But not just T-shirts, tote bags. Tote bags, yes. I mean, look, I could put it up to a bigger profit, but I've stuck at the 20%. It's not very much compared to the hours of slogging. But having said that, does it matter? Because it's getting your name out there, isn't it? And I quite like some of my products. But I tell you what, guys, because all my designs were stolen, right, by a Chinese company, and you can now buy a T-shirt with my design on it for £7 on AliExpress, and I don't get any profit from that. I mean, it'll be cheap crud. But, I share the dream. I don't mind. If you're sporting my artwork, I'm quite happy for you to go and do that. Which is, I think, about half the price of the Redbubble version. And Redbubble, I've had their scarves, which I didn't like. The design wasn't flat. It had creases in it. It's just really shoddy. But I think a T-shirt's a T-shirt, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I mean, what are you looking for in a T-shirt? You don't mind if it gets thin and worn. It's kind of the point, isn't it? You wear it with your rippy jeans or whatever. So, if you do that, fair dinkum. You're not allowed to sell them in this country, though. So if anybody catches you trading standards with a market stall, buying my designs from China and then selling them, that we won't allow. We will hound you. We will indeed. You'll go to jail. Well, that's not true, don't you? Anyway, I'm a bit thrilled about that. So you can also buy shower curtains. Yep. Mobile phone covers, which are rubbish actually because they just print the same square design over them and you've got lines and stuff. I hate them, to be honest. The thing with the designs that I've put on the Redbubble so far, they don't cover the whole T-shirt. But of course, I've been doing that, the covering of the whole T-shirt, for the main site that I was doing with Printful, and those T-shirts were 120 quid. I have all those designs, so I could just take them into my Redbubble, and I may do that. I don't think the Chinese will copy those because I think, well, of course they will. They just copy everything, do they not? I mean, I don't know how they get the files. I think you just put it into software and it can make something high res. I mean, I can't imagine that it would be nearly as good as my actual designs. But, who knows? I really couldn't tell you about that. The thing is, if I'm all over China like a rash, as iServalan, you think, well, it's just advertising. So what? Do you see what I mean? I've sort of given up trying to be precious about things. And I'm wearing one of my expensive T-shirts now. I sort of wear them around the house. I wear them in bed. They're really long. They're more like dresses. And it is lovely. But, I wouldn't pay £120. Well, I would actually. That's a complete lie. I pay a lot more than that for clothes. So, but, you have to sort of understand, get things in perspective. And, I think being too precious about something. Remember that one of my bullet points on my Get Famous in a Year did say on it, think about the other person, don't think about yourself. I'm thinking about that. I have to think about that. So there's plenty of time for me to be precious at a later date and sell my designs for £1 million, which is what I want to do. I want to sell the whole collection for £1 million. Do you remember I spoke about that? That's what I want to do. So that's why I'm not giving my copyrights away. But copies and copyrights are two completely different things, guys. And while we're on the subject of getting famous, I've been doing my teeth whitening, and today's day 4. So I've had them in for 3 days. Today will be the 4th. I think that's right. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yeah, today's the 4th day. So I haven't had them in for the full 4 days yet. Last night I put the moulds in, and you know what? 5 hours later, they were really pissing me off. So I took them out. But this morning, I just wanted to mention quickly, my daughters had said to me that they've already got really sensitive teeth, and they were concerned about whitening and the sensitivity issue. Well, today I don't think they're as sensitive as they were yesterday and the day before. So I think the sensitivity is settling down, which is what my dentist said. And you get these swabs, and you can put those on. I'll do that in a minute after I clean my teeth. And you also get this sensitivity toothpaste. But both my daughters use that already. But apparently they're very worried about, the sensitivity of the whitening. Because I tell you what, it's weird, isn't it? Toothache is one of the least tolerable pains, I believe, because it's so close to your brain and your head, and where our faces are so sensitive, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? So I think it's a real issue for people. And my mum said she tried them some years ago and she couldn't get on with them because of the discomfort, all of the discomfort. And I'm not going to lie, guys, it's bloody uncomfortable. I mean, just wearing the things is uncomfortable. They just start to irritate after a bit. Your sort of tongue's flicking on them. It tastes grim, this sugary sweetness, which you keep tasting for hour upon hour upon hour, I mean, not constant, but and I just think by the end of it, I'm sure that's done. I'm sure there can't be any of that gel left. But I took them out after 5 hours and there was tons of that gel in there. So it does stay in. So, I can tell they're working. But it's just, I'm sort of living this week out, my first week, just wishing for the end of the week. Wishing it was over. I mean, it's a bit of a prison sentence, which is daft, isn't it? But of course, I mean, I can get on with other things. Of course I can. And I'm just sorting out the island, the kitchen island for my show, and I'll film that shortly in a bit. Well, later on today, I've got to pop round to Mum's to pick up some props. So yeah, very exciting. I'll probably podcast later on. Actually, I might even do it loud, and we'll talk about live. Sorry. On the podcast, and I'll talk about the equipment that you need and the lighting that I'm using, because it's very interesting when you're doing a cooking show. It's very interesting with the sort of angles and things like that I'm going to be using. I mean, I don't really want to edit particularly, but we'll talk about that, setting up a 3-camera thing on Zoom, which can be done. And I know this because I'm a piano teacher, retired, and that's how you do piano lessons as well. We'll talk about that later in a later broadcast. Guys, it was lovely to hook up with you. iServalan.com, and I'm on Redbubble as Telltale Club. Loads of lovely designs just went live this morning. But they're also available on the site. If you go there and have a look and just use the search box for Redbubble. iServalan.com, telltaleclub.com.